Welcome back to MMA Al Dente. I am the guy who picked Ashley Yoder to defeat Angela Hill. And I'm here to talk about Benoit Saint-Denis versus Thiago Moises. This is a very good fight. Saint-Denis is 11-1 as a pro, 27 years old, and he's got 2 inches of height and 3 inches of reach over 28-year-old Moises, who is 17-6. Both guys are really good fighters, versatile guys, I'd say, but I think they're both better on the ground, for sure. Benoit, he's got an 11-1 record. His one loss comes by decision, and it was to Zaleski dos Santos, who's always been a very good UFC welterweight. And Saint-Denis moved up to welterweight on short notice to take that fight. And Zaleski was on drugs of some sort. He tested positive for whatever the fuck. I don't know. But my point is, that's a very tough fight with none of that extra horseshit, under none of those circumstances. But with all those circumstances, incredibly tough debut. And Benoit Saint-Denis stood tall in that fight. He got the shit kicked out of him, and he didn't go anywhere. He, especially taking the fight on short notice, you'd think he would have fallen apart down the stretch. But he looked really, really tough. And despite not showing much technically there, he still showed a lot. And I was really impressed with him in defeat. I think the guy is a natural fighter. And then since then, he's dropped back down to lightweight, and he's 3-0 in the UFC, and he's steamrolled pretty much everybody. He's looked really fucking good. 3 finishes anyway. I don't know about steamrolling, but maybe the Bonfim fight. But he beat Nicholas Stolze by rear naked choke in round 2, ripped him to the mat multiple times. He TKO'd Gabriel Miranda in round 2. He knocked him to the mat multiple times. And then Ismael Bonfim, he face cranked him in round 1. That was a surprise to me and a great victory for Benoit Saint-Denis. He looked like he was going to try to do nothing but kick him. And then he went with plan A, ripped him to the mat and choked him, or cranked him. But Benoit Saint-Denis, he's definitely a really good fighter on top. That's where he does his best work. He's no stranger to throwing down, though, either. He's got 2 TKO victories, and they're both standing finishes, or, TKO finish, whatever, striking finishes. Got Gabriel Miranda out of there in the UFC, and then some other guy outside the UFC, but it was against the cage. He put him away. And he's never won a decision, but he's still really impressed me. Like I said, I think he's a natural fighter who's got a lot of strong traits. He just hasn't shown them all yet. He did have a no contest with this really good fighter, Paweł Kielek. I don't know about really good, but the guy's good, capable. I think he beat Guram Kutateladze and Mateusz Rebeski. So definitely a solid fighter. And that was a back-and-forth fight between the two. It was back and forth, standing on the ground, and Benoit Saint-Denis didn't look like he was fading at all. The fight was stopped due to a cut. He had a bad cut. There was blood all over the place and whatever. It ended up being ruled a no contest. But still, he impressed me in that fight because I think, that guy Kielek is definitely capable. And Benoit looked good going against a guy like that down the stretch, even though they never quite got there because it was stopped at the end of round 2. But here he's fighting Thiago Moises, who, much like him, is better on the ground, but again, no slouch on the feet. Thiago's a little shorter, though, 2 inches shorter and giving up 3 inches of reach. That could work against him. I'd say he's, Thiago Moises is more reliable fighting down the stretch because you've seen him do it. But still, his decision record is 6-4. So it's not like he's that reliable, I guess. But I definitely don't have any doubts about his cardio, is my point. Thiago Moises, he's got 6 losses. I'll just get into those. 1 by knockout. That was the Joel Alvarez, who is a fucking middleweight giraffe. And he somehow made it to lightweight before he didn't. And then Islam Makhachev is the only guy to submit him. That was in round 4 to Islam Makhachev. That was a main event in the UFC a year and a half, 2 years ago, whatever. No shame there. Islam's maybe the best fighter in the world. So Thiago actually impressed me in that fight. And then he's got 4 decision losses, all to good fighters. Damiris Magulov and Benil Dariush, excellent lightweights. Robert Watley, an underrated guy outside the UFC, capable fighter, and Jason Knight, who I think is back in the UFC. At least he was 2 weeks ago, whatever. But Thiago Moises, yeah, he's a really tough guy to get out of there. And he's dangerous himself, too. He's got 8 submission victories. We've seen a few of them in the UFC. 2 lately. He choked Christos Giagos and Melk Costa. He got Melk out of there in round 2. Giagos out of there in round 1. He also got Michael Johnson out of there with a heel hook after getting dominated in round 1. And then he came out and said, hey, do you fall apart in the middle of a fight? Let me see. And he fell apart. Heel hook in round 2. But yeah, he's also picked up some solid decision wins at the UFC level. Kurt Holobaugh, who beat Jason Knight in the Ultimate finale 2 weeks ago or whatever. Alexander Hernandez, he beat him by decision. Looked really good doing so. And Bobby Green in a pretty close fight, but still. A close enough fight, and I did think Thiago looked good, whatever. Down the stretch especially, and he won that fight. Say what you will about the decision, but he got a win over Bobby Green. Look, in this fight here, I could see either guy winning if they got on top, but I think Thiago Moises would be less likely to get a finish. I think Benoit Saint-Denis could destroy Thiago if he got on top of him. He's definitely got the higher capability of getting a finish, and that would most likely be on the ground. And on the feet, I think Thiago Moises is not somebody you could just corner and tee off on unless you're a middleweight giraffe. But Benoit Saint-Denis, I still think that reach and height is going to help him. He's an underrated striker. I think they kind of both are, really. But Benoit Saint-Denis got a nice long left hand, and I do think he could fare well on his feet. I think also, in the event of a close fight, this is in France, in Paris. So go with Saint-Denis, because I think they might be on his side there. I'm leaning towards Benoit Saint-Denis. I'm leaning towards Benoit Saint-Denis, and it's not just a French thing. I know I just mentioned that. That is a thing. That is a factor. They're going to be cheering for him. Every strike is going to seem more impactful. But that's the case with all the French fighters. I think Thiago Moises is still very much in the realm of winning this fight, especially if he can get on top of Benoit Saint-Denis. Get on top of him, because Thiago, on the feet, it's not like he's a fish out of water, but ever since the Joel Alvarez fight especially, I've been, whatever. It's a major strike against his durability. I'm a little more worried and concerned about him on the feet. And I think this fight will be close. There's a chance they're grappling and wrestling cancel each other out, and it's a pure stand-up fight or even a clinch battle, in which case Thiago Moises, I still think Benoit Saint-Denis could have him beat on the physicality end of things on the inside, but Thiago Moises is a little more compact, and generally the compact guys do a better job of pushing the other guy against the cage. But I'm going with Saint-Denis. Like I said, Saint-Denis, I think he's got the easier path to a finish, and I also think Saint-Denis is he's got the crowd on his side, and I trust a lot of his traits, even if he hasn't shown them all yet. I think there's a chance he wins his first decision here. I think it'd be tough to get Moises out of there, even if Benoit is more likely to get the finish. And if he has to fight for 15 minutes and win, which he hasn't done yet, I think he could do it. He's got just about every trait he's shown. Just not the cardio and whatever, the round 3 fucking shit. But I'm going with Benoit Saint-Denis. He is my pick. I bet on him at minus 120. I think his line is a little farther down now, minus 155. But I'm just leaning his way, and I think he gets it done. Like, share, subscribe, all that horse shit. Check out my other videos.